Mason and I were in a 5-year relationship. 1 week before the wedding, I found hundreds of chat threads with the same girl saved on his phone. I quietly booked a plane ticket for the morning of the ceremony. Then I sat back and watched him act as if nothing were wrong. When the bride left him at the altar, he panicked. "Zachary, is the out-of-state branch position you mentioned still open?" "I've decided, I'll take it." My boss heard the yes he'd been waiting for and couldn't hide his relief. "All right, I'll submit your paperwork today." "I just thought you were getting married." "It's fine. Wedding's off. Don't worry." My voice trembled. To keep him from noticing, I hung up before the quiver reached the surface. My eyes drifted back to Mason's screen and the messages glowing on it. After graduation, we'd been hired by the same company, just different departments. Tonight he was at a party his coworkers had thrown for him. His phone was off. The supervisor couldn't reach him, needed files urgently, so the call rolled to me. That was the first time I ever opened his phone, and the moment I found those chats. In a single heartbeat, 5 years of memories rushed back. All this time he'd kept no trace of our love, yet he'd archived every tiny moment with her. Only then did it hit me. I simply didn't matter. For 5 years I'd excused his indifference, stubborn as an idiot. A casual remark from a coworker echoed in my head. "Man, I thought you'd stay single forever because of Lily. You're really getting married? Not doing it out of spite." Back then I hadn't caught the flicker of guilt on Mason's face. I declared proudly, "We're in love for real." Now I understood why the question had been asked, and I no longer had the right to say the words. I drew several slow breaths and closed the phone. I opened my own screen to type out a breakup text, but Mason hadn't even answered yesterday's messages about flower arrangements. I checked Instagram. His profile was blank, not a single post. Below the empty avatar was just one word: waiting. My lips pulled into a wry smile as I collapsed onto the couch. I used to think he was just reserved, that his silence was personality, not neglect. Looking back, my naivete is almost funny. I'd asked him countless times what the Instagram bio meant. He'd never answered. Now I finally knew. 7 days until the wedding we'd dreamed about, I'd set the countdown as my live wallpaper, letting the ticking numbers drill the fact into me each morning. Watching the seconds pulse, I rubbed my tired eyes and pushed down the ache. Just as I was about to confirm the ticket, his coworker called. "Aria, Mason's wasted. Could you come pick him up? I'll text you the address." Through the receiver I heard Mason's slurred voice shouting Lily. The sound stabbed straight into my heart. The caller quickly muffled the phone and hung up. I shook off the sting, changed, and headed for the door, only to spot the half of the couple bracelet I'd custom-made for him lying discarded on the table. He'd said it was childish and had never worn it. I picked it up and dropped it into the trash. On the bookshelf sat the couple's photo album he'd never opened. It felt like silent ridicule of my one-sided devotion. A weary irritation surged. I yanked the trash can, swept every shared trinket into a garbage bag, and hauled it outside. After tossing the bag, I hailed a cab to the address the coworker had sent. At the private room door I heard laughter inside. "Lily's back today. Don't tell me she regrets it now that Mason's getting married." I drew one breath, forced a polite smile, and pushed. The chatter died. Faces froze in awkward guilt. The man who would marry me in 7 days had his arms around another woman, his expression tender. It was the face I'd scrolled past dozens of times on his phone. The coworker hadn't expected me so soon. He grabbed Mason's shoulders and tried to pry him off Lily. But Mason was too far gone, completely limp. He slurred a garbled, "Get lost, don't touch me." I'd never seen him this drunk. The coworker hissed in his ear. "Aria's here. Wake up. You're getting married in a week." Others jumped in, finally uncurling Mason's fingers from Lily's arm. He sagged back into the sofa, face scarlet. Only then did the coworker exhale and turn to me. "This is Lily, our college classmate. She moved abroad last year, and just flew in this morning. Mason's had way too much, don't read into it." Old me would have lost control and demanded why they'd let her show up. Why no one stopped this. Instead I offered a small, indifferent smile. Lily studied me with curious eyes. When the coworker reached the word fiancé, Mason, who'd been motionless, suddenly barked. "Coworker!" Under my sleeve my nails dug, so hard my palm hurt. This wasn't the first time he'd refused to claim me. When he wouldn't post photos, wouldn't walk into Sterling Tech holding my hand, wouldn't invite more than a handful of friends to the ceremony, I'd already sensed the ending. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. I kept my smile pinned in place and nodded at Lily. "Hi, I'm Mason's coworker Aria. You're even prettier than the pictures." The room fell dead silent. Lily gave an easy laugh and reached for a slice of fruit on the table. Mason jolted upright again. Lily, you're allergic to peaches, don't. Her hand hovered midair. She looked amused. You're still the same goof. That's Apple and you're drunk. Something inside me detonated, shrapnel shredding what was left of my heart. He never forgot, he just never cared. For 5 years I reminded him I was allergic to peanuts, yet every dish he cooked started with peanut oil. Fury had turned to compromise, then to self-delusion. He's overloaded at work, he can't keep track of everything. Tonight reality slapped me awake again, every detail screaming that he doesn't love me. I hauled him off the sofa without expression. Downstairs, while I flagged a cab, Lily followed. Her gentle eyes crinkled into a smile as she gazed at Mason's face. She spoke to me carefully. Mason can't hold his liquor, and he's allergic to certain meds. When you get home, make him a glass of lemon water, no hotter than 50 degrees, and he'll be fine or he'll feel awful tomorrow morning. Mason had never told me any of this. I bit my lip and said nothing, turning to get into the car. She stopped me again. By the way, let's swap numbers. If he feels off later, you can ask me. When Mason drinks, he thrashes in his sleep. Stay alert. If he kicks the blanket off, cover him right away or he'll wake up with a cold. My nails dug so hard they nearly broke skin, my lashes trembled. I stared into her innocent eyes for a long moment, then nodded. We added each other, and her Instagram cover turned out to be an old photo with Mason. In it they were years younger, beaming, eyes certain, hands linked. The instant the car door shut, silent tears slipped down my cheeks. I used to scoff when people warned me about first. I believed real heart always earns real heart. Tonight that belief cracked. On the ride Mason's phone buzzed several times, Lily checking he'd gotten home safe. I unlocked it, meaning to answer politely, but I saw his chat with a friend. Faking the wedding is my last shot. If she still won't come back, I'm done. Drop the news in the group, don't add details. My finger froze on the screen. I slammed the phone off. My breathing turned sharp and thin. No matter how I gasped, air wouldn't reach my lungs. Tears raced down, hotter and faster. So that's why he proposed last week. No ring, no starter home, no bride price. Only, don't tell your mom. I'd thought the rituals didn't matter, that my devotion had finally been answered. Turns out the wedding I'd waited 5 years for was just bait to lure Lily home. The last thread of reluctance inside me snapped. I kept telling myself, since I'd already chosen to leave, none of their drama concerned me anymore. Back at the loft, Mason's head had cleared. He went straight to the bathroom. I mixed the lemon water, just as Lily had instructed. 7 days left. I refused to leave regrets. I'd barely sat when my supervisor called to discuss handing off my files before departure. The moment I hung up, Mason's irritated voice cut in. Leave? Go where? He stood there towel drying his hair, face blank. I held the glass out. Business trip, nothing major. He didn't bother to probe, or perhaps he simply didn't care. He took the cup, saw the lemon, and his brows snapped together. Who taught you that? Quit reading random stuff online. It's not for everyone. He thumped the glass onto the coffee table and stalked to the bedroom. A bitter smile tugged at my mouth. First tricks weren't meant for me to copy. Next morning was our scheduled bridal fitting. Mason woke as though nothing had happened, indifferent as ever. But after seeing how tender he was with Lily, I'd stopped blaming his nature. As we were heading out, he glanced at his phone and said, "Skip that boutique. Let's try the one I saw online, better reviews." My hands stilled over the plates. Sure, whatever you want. I knew why he'd switched. Lily had posted the new shop on Instagram that morning. I didn't expose his childish lie. I preferred dignity in the exit. 5 days to relocation. I wanted us both to keep some pride. I'd worn comfortable shoes, already guessing how the day would play out. At the salon, Mason scanned the room until he spotted a familiar silhouette. Without a word to me, he strode toward Lily. I smiled apologetically at the puzzled stylist. Sorry, we won't be trying today. We'll still pay, of course. Comfortable shoes couldn't lighten the weight on my heart. Every block felt like wading through lead. When I finally reached him, he was chatting animatedly with Lily, his groom's jacket slung over one shoulder. Seeing me, his brows knitted, afraid I might blow his cover in front of her. He blurted, "What are you doing here?" "I'm just catching up with a classmate." I froze, then pulled a smile. "Some urgent files at Sterling Tech. I'm in a dress, no pockets for my phone, so I came to tell you." Surprise flickered in his eyes. Old me would have snapped. Today I turned away without fuss. His face relaxed, he gave a curt nod. I walked off, step after step, their voices fading behind me. Don't overthink it. My coworker dragged me here for opinions. I hadn't lied. I spent the rest of the day at the office handing over projects. That night he had dinner waiting when I returned. He pocketed his phone the instant I stepped in, expression uneasy. "You're late." "I cooked. You looked thinner this morning." I paused. "Thinner?" I hadn't eaten since reading those messages. The greasy dishes made me frown. "Eat without me." "I'm turning in." As I moved, he noticed the raw blister on my heel. He followed with the first aid kit, first time in 5 years. But the scrape had already scabbed, and I no longer needed him. I declined, his face darkened. He set a piece of fruit on my nightstand. "Sorry, I didn't know she'd show up at the bridal boutique." I didn't expose his childish lie. No need to embarrass myself when the end was this close. 5 days until I relocated abroad. I wanted us to keep some dignity. I'd worn flats, guessing how this would unfold. Sure enough, the moment we stepped inside, Mason spotted a familiar figure in the corner. Without a word to me, he spun and headed straight for Lily. I gave the puzzled clerk an apologetic smile. "Sorry, we won't be trying anything today, but we'll pay for the slot." Even in comfy shoes, each block felt like wading through wet cement. When I finally reached him, he was chatting with Lily, face lit up. His groom's jacket drooped over one shoulder. When his eyes landed on me, his brows snapped together. Terrified I'd spill our engagement in front of her, he rushed out. "What are you doing here?" "I'm just catching up with a classmate." I blinked, lips pulling into a smile. "Something came up at Sterling Tech. I didn't have pockets in this dress, so I walked over to tell you." Surprise flickered across his face. Old me would have snapped, but now I simply turned and left. His voice faded behind me. "Don't overthink it. Some coworker dragged me here for opinions." I wasn't lying. I spent the rest of the day at the office, handing off projects. That night he'd actually cooked when I walked in. He pocketed his phone, uneasy. "You're late." "I made dinner." "You looked thinner this morning." I paused. "Thinner?" I hadn't eaten since reading those chats. The oily smell hit me and my stomach recoiled. "Eat without me." "I'm turning in." As I stepped away, he noticed the raw blisters my shoes had left. He fetched the first aid kit. First time in 5 years. But the scrapes had already scabbed, and I no longer needed him. I declined, his face darkened. He set a piece of fruit on my nightstand. "Sorry, I didn't know she'd be at the boutique." Old classmate, couldn't ignore her. "Don't read into it, I cut him off, eyeing the fruit. "I quit fruit weeks ago and eat clean. Guess it slipped your mind." I'd lived like a monk for the wedding, he hadn't noticed. His first attempt to bend, and I batted it away twice. So Mason reverted to default coldness and walked out, shutting the door. Past midnight my stomach growled. I slipped out for water and saw the living room glow. Mason's face was lit by the phone, fingers flying, smiling wide. Recalling how he'd sworn he never stayed up late, so he couldn't be bothered to celebrate my birthday. My heart chilled another few degrees. I didn't go pour the water, just turned and walked back to the bedroom. 3 days remained, the date we'd planned to pick up our marriage license. The moment I stepped out of the room, he had vanished. Not a single explanation, not one message. Out of habit, I opened Lily's Instagram. Sure enough, there was her update, and 4 drip in her arm. "When will I learn to take care of myself? After all these years, I still need you." How does an adult, fully aware of her allergens, manage to make herself sick? I had no clue, and I refused to waste another second finding out. I spent the whole day packing my things. By nightfall, Mason still hadn't shown. He sent only one text, "Work late." I stared at those 4 words on the screen, bitterness flooding me. He wouldn't even trouble himself to invent a decent lie. When I'd spoken to his team lead earlier, the man had specially assured me they'd cleared Mason's workload so he could take his wedding leave in peace. My guess, he was pulling overtime at Riverdale General. At dawn, the countdown wallpaper on my phone finally hit 0. I spent what was left of the night curled on the couch. Next morning, I washed up and headed straight for the airport. On the way, I counted my blessings. Thank heaven the wedding had been fake, the guests uninvited, or I'd have had to explain to Mom how I'd left him at the altar. The instant I entered Riverdale, I called Mason to say we were done. The phone rang once before he sent me to voicemail. Then a voice note popped in, his tone ice-cold and impatient. "I'm almost there. What's your rush? You think I'd skip my own wedding? Lily's sick, I'm tied up. Can't you be reasonable for once? Cover for me with our friends. I'll talk to you later." The message ended. Expressionless, I typed, "We're over. The wedding is yours." Before he could answer, I blocked his number and deleted every trace of him. I switched the phone to airplane mode and boarded. 10 hours in the air. For half of them, eyes shut, I relived every year of us. Love that long hardens into reflex. Loving him had become habit. Breaking away felt like severing a limb. When the wheels touched foreign asphalt, the world felt newborn, as if anything could begin again. The first call that came through after I powered on was a frantic planner from the bridal boutique. "Alex, is the wedding still happening? The handful of guests have all left. We've never seen anything like it. No bride, no groom. When we told Mr. Lee you hadn't arrived, he cursed and hung up. We had to hunt for your number." My hand froze around the phone. Hailing a cab, I answered flatly. "It's cancelled. I've paid the balance. Your job's done, thanks." I ended the call and climbed in. Sorrow still sloshed inside me on the ride. The last pathetic hope, that Mason might panic when he found me gone, shriveled and died. So what if he knew I'd walked? He'd skipped the ceremony himself. Following the address Zachary had given me, I reached the loft just as my suitcase thudded onto the curb. Mason's coworker rang again. We were finished, so there was no point chatting with his colleagues. Still, I'd better end it cleanly. After a 2-second hesitation, I answered, only to hear Mason roaring. "Aria, have you lost it? Who said you could block me? Where the hell are you? Talk." I explained, "Lily's sick, I'm stuck, stop the drama. You skipped the wedding, didn't you? Send me your location, now." My brows snapped together. "Didn't you read my text? We're done. Where I go is none of your business. This coworker's number is blocked too. Don't ever call again." The nerve, he'd vanished first yet dared demand answers. I cut him off and blacklisted that line as well. Dragging my case across the lobby, I rode the elevator up. I tidied the place, then dropped onto the couch, just as Zachary rang. Worry lined his voice. "Aria, you didn't tell your husband you were relocating?" "He just phoned me, frantic, threatening to call the police, so I gave him your overseas address." I exhaled. "Forget it. He won't cross an ocean. And we never married, he's out of my life." Zachary read the subtext, warned me not to let personal mess taint my performance, and hung up. I raked my hands through my hair and opened the blacklist folder. Dozens of missed calls from him. More attempts in one day than in our entire 5 years together. Pathetic and laughable. Probably panicked that skipping his own cheap wedding would look less tragic if both leads were absent. At last I opened my gallery to delete every candid shot I'd ever stolen of him. Swipe by swipe I seemed to fall for him all over again, then wiped the slate clean. When the album was empty, I stood, walked downstairs, and bought a bottle of red wine. While we were together, his hatred of the smell meant I could only cry in silence. If I drank, he'd lose his temper. Now newly free, I poured a glass and drained it like a dare. The alcohol fuzzed my thoughts. Instinct sent me to Lily's page, where 8 hours earlier, right when vows should have been spoken, she'd posted again. A photo of a familiar hand gripping a hospital bed rail. "With you beside me, I feel safe. Nothing scares me anymore." Tears spilled. A cold smile twisted my lips, fingers trembling as I typed, erased, retyped. At last I commented, "You win. I give your piece back to you." I deleted her contact, drew the final line under this story, and the second the screen went black, I collapsed across the couch and slept like the dead. The alarm dragged me awake next morning. I showered and reported to work with swollen eyes. First day at the overseas branch, chaos left no room to think of him. Shedding a mistake felt easier than I'd feared. No more calls from home. I thought we were truly done, until I stepped out of the overseas branch at quitting time and saw a familiar silhouette by the curb. Mason stood with his back to the glass doors, phone clenched in his hand, irritation crackling through every word. "Her condition's worse again? Then call a doctor." "I'm not a doctor. I'm busy, and family can help her faster than I can. Stop bothering me unless it's an emergency." I gave him one sideways glance, kept walking, and angled toward my loft. 2 steps later, rushed footsteps slapped the pavement behind me. Before I could break into a run, his fingers locked around my wrist. "You relocated abroad and didn't even tell me? Just because I took Lily to Riverdale? I already explained. Can you quit overreacting? And why's the starter home empty? We bought it together. Don't I get a say?" I'd believed I was strong enough. But hearing his accusations on foreign concrete, tears flood my eyes before I can stop them. I wrench free and spin to face him. "Tell you? Why? Should I mention the endless Lily threads on your laptop? Or the way you dangled our wedding like bait to drag your first back from abroad?" Jet lag has carved hollows under his eyes I've never seen, red veins spreading like cracks in glass. Once, I would have caved before he spoke, surrendered the overseas offer, and followed him home. This time, staring into his helpless gaze, I feel nothing, no sympathy, no ache. Mason's frantic mask freezes. He clearly never expected me to open his computer. His first reflex is to lash out. "You went through my laptop? I told you those chats were work. Who gave you the right? Don't I deserve privacy?" Realizing he's shouting, he sucks in a breath to backpedal. A cold laugh bursts out of me. You were too busy wrapped around Lily at that party. Your team lead couldn't find you and called me for files. You think I wanted to look? One glance made me sick. In 5 years together, it's the first time I've turned cold, every word final. Yet Mason mistakes it for jealous tantrum. When he speaks again, his voice softens, coaxing. What's on the phone is ancient history. I simply forgot to delete it. As for the wedding, she dumped me, you know that. I bragged to our friends just to save face. I never thought you'd take it seriously. Believe me, the moment I proposed to you, she was already gone. Helping her now is just basic friendship. She happened to fly back, and I wanted closure. His excuses feel like sandpaper. Every syllable scrapes. My smirk curls colder. Really, Mason? You dated me for 5 years while your past stayed unfinished? What am I, an eraser for your memories? Each time you chose her over me, you gave your answer. Do you even believe the nonsense coming out of your mouth? You weren't scared of hurting me, losing me, watching me walk away. So why show up now? Want to hear me say we broke up in person? Color drains from his face sentence by sentence. His lips part. Nothing comes out. Only when I pivot to leave does he manage, voice hoarse. I can delete everything right now. I'll admit I wavered at first, but the second I heard you left me at the altar I knew. If I fly here and beg, will you give us one more chance? I don't turn, don't answer. I keep marching while his hopeful eyes burn holes in my back. This time he doesn't chase. Could I restart us? I asked myself that countless times after Lily resurfaced. I gave him endless tries. The result was always the same, and I'm done reliving it. Back in my loft I splash water on my face, then hear a knock. I open the door and meet a giant, insulated thermos bobbing in front of me. Mason's bright grin peeks around it. Foreign food tastes awful. I cooked for you. Try it while it's hot. It's the first time he's ever beamed at me like sunlight. Also the first time he's stepped into a kitchen for my sake. For a heartbeat I freeze, then slam the door shut. To my shock he doesn't rage. He taps softly, persistent. I slide down the wood and sit on the floor, drained. Why learn to love me after we're over? I don't need it anymore. He knocks for 30 minutes. I stay put for 30 minutes. Finally a ringtone slices the corridor. Riverdale again. Patience snapped, he snarls into the phone. I told you, if she's sick, call a doctor. Her illness isn't my fault. My wedding is already wrecked, and I'm busy. The caller refuses to hang up. He argues until footsteps fade, and the hallway falls silent. I crack the door. Only the thermos remains on the mat. Even after I left him at the altar, I still lose to her. But I don't want the prize anymore. I drop the thermos into the trash and order takeout on my phone, figuring that call would send him racing for a plane ticket home. I'm stunned to find him waiting downstairs the next morning. A bouquet of roses fills his arms. I sweep my eyes over the flowers and keep walking, pretending I'm blind. He paces after me. Let me drive you. I heard the streets here aren't safe alone. His words yank me to a stop. Mason, is playing devoted some new hobby of yours? Back home I finished work late countless nights and begged you to pick me up. Remember your answer? You said, other girls manage, should single women just die? Be careful if you're scared. I've got things to do. His pupils quiver at the echo. I keep going. Now I've got things to do. Leave and don't come back. I step to the curb and hail a rideshare. The instant I open the door he ducks in behind me. I was a lousy boyfriend. Let me make it up. I don't want us ending over a misunderstanding. Tired of wasting breath, I shut my eyes and lean back. His phone rings, silences, rings again. I snap. Handle your own life and stay out of mine. We're done. What's the point of this circus? Your one is back home, not here. The car rolls to the curb outside Sterling Tech. I shove the door open and stride away without a glance. I didn't give him a single extra minute. The instant the elevator doors slid shut, I yanked out my phone and called Mason's team lead. He's not married, so why is he still on wedding leave? Doesn't Sterling Tech have work for him? Can you drag him back here? The man hesitated so long I could almost hear the silence scraping against my eardrum before he finally answered. He's burning regular PTO, not wedding leave. My hands are tied. I ended the call, irritation crackling through me like static. For the next 7 days he haunted the edges of my life like some stubborn ghost. Habit, I had to admit, is a terrifying thing. Rage cooled to indifference in a handful of days. On the 7th night my landlord rang. A tenant upstairs says your friend's disturbing the peace. This Mason guy keeps camping outside your door. Under pressure, the landlord admitted Mason had pitched a tent on the sidewalk beside the building, blazing lights all night. Every time someone approached, he rushed over to verify the apartment number. Half the residents had already broken their leases. I scrambled off the couch and stepped onto the balcony. A sharp white glow leaked from a tiny tent far below. I pulled his number off the blocked list and called. After a long stutter of rings, he answered, voice slow, almost drowsy. I was afraid you weren't safe living alone. I'm only here short-term and I haven't found a vacant unit, so I'm making do downstairs. Oh, great news. I applied for the overseas training slot in our department, and I got it. Excitement shimmered through every word, the same shine I used to wear when I still believed in tomorrow. I felt nothing. Got it, I said and hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. Sometime before dawn the sky split open in a furious downpour. It felt as though someone had reached into my chest and twisted. I drifted to the balcony, but the dim light swallowed every outline. I couldn't spot him. I crawled back to bed, pressed a pillow over my ears, and ordered myself to rest. By morning the rain had stopped, the heavens the color of doomsday. The corner where he usually waited stood empty. My stride faltered for a heartbeat before I swallowed the disappointment and hailed a cab to Sterling Tech. For once the day passed without a single apologetic text or call. When quitting time hit, the downpour returned with a vengeance. An hour later I finally snagged a ride, but visibility was wrecked. The driver shot through an intersection blind, and a speeding sedan T-boned us, flipping the car on its side. The impact felt like my organs had been pulverized. Death flickered at the edges of my vision. I rasped the driver's name, begged for help, then realized he was barely breathing. Rain hammered the fractured windshield, drowning my voice. Warm blood sheeted down my skin. My temperature plummeted. As darkness closed in, the only face my mind conjured was Mason's. My phone, miraculously tucked inside my jacket, remained within reach. With the last gram of strength, I hit the emergency call switch. It auto-dialed Mason, once, twice, 3 times, ringing until voicemail each time. Tears melted into the rain, and everything went black. I woke in a sterile Riverdale ward, stranger's kindness the only thing that had delivered me there. Mason sat beside the bed, face bloodless, chin stippled with days-old stubble, looking pitiful as a stray. I shut my eyes so I wouldn't have to see him. Panic rippled across his features, his voice shook. I'm sorry, I didn't know you called. My battery died. I'd just flown in because Lily, they issued a critical alert. She begged to see me one last time. That has nothing to do with me. We're finished. You're free to run to whoever you want. I had once again carved my own wounds, refusing to believe I barely existed in his heart until the evidence lay mangled in front of me. Every breath felt like jagged glass. Sweat beaded on my forehead. When he tried to dab it away, I snapped. Get out. We are done, permanently. Go find Lily. Only then did it hit him that he was about to lose me for good. I already went. She lied. I'll never trust her again. I told her we're nothing now. Does it matter? My tone stayed flat. I might as well have been addressing a stranger. Cracks spread across his eyes, but he found no words. Believe me just once, Aria. I winced at the fire in my ribs and cut him off. Mason, it's over completely forever. Don't make me hate you. His pupils quivered, his outstretched hand froze midair. Meeting my hate-filled stare, he finally shut up. After minutes of stalemate, he surrendered and walked out. That silhouette seemed to vanish from my life, except for the Chinese lunches that appeared outside my door like clockwork for the rest of my stay. Once discharged, I returned to Sterling Tech. Passing his department, I spotted him hunched over a proposal. We became the company's most intimate strangers. Even work questions routed through email. A full year crawled by. He thought he was discreet, but I could always pinpoint the gaze that burned hotter each time our paths crossed in meetings. Until one afternoon an enormous bouquet of roses landed on my desk. He stormed over, wild-eyed, demanding an explanation. The desperation on his face mirrored the girl I used to be. I answered without inflection. Yes, I'm seeing someone. You'll get an invitation to the wedding. It's the man who pulled me out of that flipped car in the downpour. The words hollowed him out. He left like a marionette with its strings cut. Next morning, the internal memo announced he had completed the training program and transferred back abroad. It was the cleanest ending we would ever get. That evening, my boyfriend and I fixed a date for our ceremony. This time, I will be the happy bride. Thanks for listening. On a 1 to 10 scale, how would you score this story? If it moved you, give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. See you next time.
On our 10th wedding anniversary, I changed into the outfit I'd spent days choosing, determined to surprise Chase. Vance froze, awkwardness written all over his face. Hazel, you know we've been together forever. It's hard for me to feel anything now. That night Vance recounted the scene to his assistant over the phone, voice dripping with ridicule. She still thinks she's some teenage girl? I was embarrassed for her. I asked for a divorce and Vance exhaled like a man reprieved. Fine. Tomorrow I'll ask Stella who she wants to live with. Our daughter burst in, arms locked around her father's leg. Just leave. I'll stay with Dad. You're useless, I don't want you. Weariness flooded every cell of my body. Husband, child, I wanted neither. Chase and I had almost nothing left to say. I hunted for topics that might light him up, but each attempt landed with a thud. I'm exhausted. Could you give it a rest? Vance lolled on the sofa, thumbs dancing with Sophie on his screen, grinning like a schoolboy. I'd once suspected them. Vance tossed the phone at me without a blink. Dig all you want. When that still left me restless, Vance summoned Sophie to our house. The girl, barely 20, flushed crimson and swore on everything holy she would never cross a line with Mr. Vance. Their dazzling openness only shrank me further. Petty, suspicious, small. To keep the peace, I pretended not to notice the constant buzz between them. But I refused to spend the rest of my life looking the other way. I begged Ivy for advice on jumpstarting my marriage. She messaged back a link and a wink. Slip into this and your man will be all over you. The image on my screen was so explicit my cheeks burned. Isn't that too much? Come on, you two are stuck in dry dock. Without a jolt of heat you'll sink. She was right. I could feel Chase's indifference thickening by the day. Marriages need fuel, even if the match feels mortifying. I swallowed my pride and clicked buy. The anniversary night, Chase was still at the office. After I tucked Stella in, I tiptoed to our room and, heart hammering, changed into the costume. I pestered him until Vance finally walked in just before midnight. Vance pushed the door open, surprised to find me under a quilt in midsummer. You sick? Why are you buried under there? I bit my lip, yanked the blanket off, and stood. Silence pooled. No spark, no smile. Vance looked away, uncomfortable. Pinching the bridge of his nose, Vance asked, "What are you doing?" I moved behind him and wrapped my arms around his waist. Chase, we haven't had a single night to ourselves in forever. Vance jerked free, then faced me, softened by guilt. Hazel, you know we've been together so long. I just don't feel it anymore. All my courage collapsed. Shame surged like electric current. Is there any humiliation worse than a wife throwing herself at her husband and being told no? I crawled back under the covers, burrito tight. Embarrassment, disappointment, self-doubt, they knotted inside me. I hugged myself to stop the trembling and the sobs. Maybe I looked pitiful, because Vance came over to pat my shoulder. Don't overthink it. We're just too familiar. It's nobody's fault. Don't feel bad. But that hollow comfort felt like a slap branding me a failure. Get out. I jabbed a shaking finger at the door without lifting my head. Vance sighed. Okay, I'll take the guest room. Try to sleep. His steps down the hall sounded like a man fleeing a fire. I buried my face in the mattress and cried until I blacked out. Chase and I had known each other from birth. Same neighborhood, same schools, wedding gown right after graduation, then startups and diapers. Life had glided so smoothly that when the cracks showed I had no tools to patch them. All I could do was chant the lie that every marriage ends here. Ours had only arrived early. I woke in a cold, empty room sometime after 3. The door was ajar, muffled laughter leaked through. Barefoot, I padded to the guest room threshold, invisible in the dark. Seriously, my wife scared the hell out of me tonight. A gorgeous woman throws herself at you and you're terrified. Poor Mr. Vance. It's not fear, it's overexposure. Too familiar. Zero thrill. And she's pushing 30. She keeps in shape, sure, but there's this lifelessness. She's not the bright, breezy girl she was at 20. That's brutal, even for you. Maybe, but it's real. She still thinks she's a teenager. Tonight I was mortified for her. Back against the wall, I listened while Vance disassembled me. Too old, too chatty, no career, orbiting only him and Stella. Vance didn't lower his voice, sure I was asleep, or past caring, or maybe needing me to hear. For nearly an hour Vance and Sophie laughed at every flaw. The sting dulled into numb certainty. Our decade was finished. I pushed the door. Seeing me, Chase's laughter died. Finally Vance asked, "Did you hear everything?" I squeezed my eyes shut, drove the tears back, and slapped him so hard my palm stung. "So I'm your cross to bear." I kept my voice low. Stella's door was only yards away. Vance rubbed his cheek, eyes unreadable. "I'm sorry. But I won't lie, they were my real feelings. We've known each other almost 30 years, and I treasure what we have, but this life is flavorless. The thought of spending the next few decades exactly like this suffocates me. Can't you try to change? Take a page from Sophie's playbook?" I laughed until the laugh twisted into a sob. "Copy her." "Copy what? How to stroke your ego, how to fawn? I'm not your maid. Let's just divorce." "You're speaking out of anger. When you calm down we'll talk again." "No need. You know me, I can't stomach a single grain of sand. After the way you humiliated me tonight, there's no going back. I'll let you go, so let me go, okay?" Only after I convinced him I wasn't bluffing did Chase exhale with something like relief. "Fine. I'll have Jonah come tomorrow to draft the divorce papers. You invested heavily in the startup, your equity stays intact. The Eastside estate is yours, take whichever cars you like." Vance reeled it off without pause. Vance must have rehearsed this scenario countless times already. When it came to Stella, Vance hesitated. "Forget it, I'll ask her tomorrow who she wants to live with. We should respect her choice." "No need. Stella's been raised by me since day one. Your busy work excuse kept you home maybe 10 days a year. You have no idea how to parent her. My daughter's temper worried me. If Chase remarried she'd be the easiest target. And I was sure she'd choose me after all. I was the one who'd always been there. She couldn't function without me." The next instant my confidence was slapped out of me. Stella shot from the corner, shoved me hard, wrapped her arms around her father's leg, and screamed, "Leave if you want, I'm staying with Dad. You're useless. I don't want you." Her eyes were venomous, terrified that I might drag her away from the silk and velvet life she prized. To her, I was jobless, a parasite feeding on her father's money. Yet it had been the two of us who founded the company, Chase handling strategy while I hustled for every dollar of seed funding. Even after giving birth, I'd worked through my confinement, making 20 calls a day from my bed. Both of us were workaholics and the startup was relentless, so I had to leave Stella with Chase's mother and the nanny. His mom agreed to every parenting principle I set, then did exactly the opposite, spoiling Stella beyond redemption. By 4, Stella's flaws were impossible to ignore: defiant, explosive, biting, and smashing the moment anything displeased her. She couldn't keep friends, and the school summoned me weekly. Chase and I were guilt-ridden and exhausted. Around then the company stabilized. Fundraising no longer required my boots on the ground, so Chase asked me to step away and focus on our daughter. I resisted until the day I saw her ostracized and bullied for her erratic behavior. Work could wait, my child couldn't. I quit, shadowed her at kindergarten, broke her bad habits, built her interests, handled every detail of her life. Her temper flared at the smallest discipline. She'd scream, "Get lost, I don't want a mom like you." I told myself it was just tantrums, that her heart was softer than her mouth. I'd ache for a second, then bury it and coax her again. Round trips, day after day, drained me hollow. I assumed both she and Chase saw my sacrifice. Turns out I was deluding myself. One genuinely wanted me gone as a mother, the other genuinely wanted me gone as a wife. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, looked at my hostile daughter and indifferent husband, and smiled, free. "Fine. Catering to you two was getting tiresome anyway." Sleep never came that night. From the living room, Stella's voice carried clearly as she spoke to Sophie on speaker. "Sophie, Daddy's finally dumping the old witch. When are you coming to be my new mom?" I stared at the ceiling, the night stretching endless. Jonah arrived early next morning. Chase was rushing Stella to school. "Jonah, sit down with Hazel, note anything she wants added, I'll review it later." The door clicked shut. In the huge living room, Jonah and I sat on opposite ends of the sofa, silence thick between us. We three, Vance, Chase, and I, grew up in the same orphanage. 3 years our senior, Jonah had witnessed every step of Chase's and my journey. For an attorney, Vance's always struck me as tongue-tied. Like now, half a minute passed before Vance managed, "You okay?" I flashed an easy grin. "Couldn't be better. Spare me your pale condolences." Vance smiled back. "Good. Because when you cried as a kid, it never ended." Vance drew papers from his briefcase. "Take a look. I drafted these after midnight, maxed out your protection. Anything you want added?" I read every clause. Vance'd been thorough, fighting for me from every angle. I tapped the visitation line. "Delete this. No monthly shuttling of Stella to me. She doesn't want it, and I won't waste energy on it." Jonah pressed his lips. Chase suggested that clause. "If you hate it, out it goes. I pushed for custody last night. Chase told me everything. Don't take it too hard. Stella's 7. When she's older she'll realize what you've done. Whether she realizes is irrelevant now." I met his gaze calmly. "Jonah, I've figured it out. My first half-life was chained to Chase and Stella. The second half will be mine. I'm leaving Eastbrook, please fast-track this divorce." His expression was complicated. Vance started to speak, sighed instead. "All right. I'll handle it." The same afternoon the papers were signed, I started packing. More than a decade under this roof, too much stuff. I folded clothes in silence while Chase lingered in the doorway, sighing. "Hazel, I don't know how we ended up here. I still love you so much, yet reality defeated us." His words tasted of counterfeit and farce. I found them almost funny. The whole act Vance was putting on came from nothing more than guilt Vance refused to own, so Vance played the part of a man still desperately in love but defeated by cruel reality. Who had ever forced him? Vance grew bored, grew annoyed, blamed everything on reality, and wanted to walk away spotless, no gossip, no blame. Life doesn't work that way. I ripped the mask off without mercy. Spare me the heartsick performance, it makes me sick. If you actually feel bad, give me more shares instead of this cheap talk, at least that would be honest. Chase's expression twisted. Vance pressed his lips together, turned, and left without a word. A few minutes later my daughter stormed over. "Why did you make Dad upset?" "Grandma's right, women like you can't stand being miserable alone, so you ruin everything for everyone. No wonder Dad dumped you." She kicked my suitcase, then slapped the jewelry box from my hand. "Get out. I never want to see your ugly face again, you old witch." I'd run out of patience. I didn't indulge her the way I used to. I stood up and slapped her. She wailed, dropped to the floor, thrashing and kicking. "I'll tell Grandma to come beat you to death, you slut." In no time Chase's mother arrived and unloaded on me. "You and your temper, tearing this house apart every single day. What did Chase ever deny you? Food, clothes, anything? Why can't you ever be satisfied? Did your parents die too early to teach you manners?" A vase whistled past her temple and exploded against the wall, shards flying everywhere. "If you still have more to say, there's plenty left to throw." I stared at her, ice cold. The world finally went quiet. I left the rest of my things behind and wheeled the suitcase out. My daughter stood to one side, pulling hideous faces. "Battle axe, old witch. Serves you right, Naya Naya Naya." Tilda Chase's mother looked equally disgusted. "Good riddance, who wants to look at a jinx like that? That Sophie girl is so much nicer." My daughter chirped in delight. "Yeah. Sophie's gentle and pretty. Dad, when are you going to marry her and make her my new mom?" After the scene Vance just witnessed, Chase was clearly in a foul mood. Vance rubbed the bridge of his nose and roared, "Enough. Can everyone just shut up?" I pulled the door shut behind me and never looked back. Because both of us wanted it, the divorce sailed through. The morning the papers were finalized, I booked a flight south. I picked Seabright, a little beach town, bought a courtyard house, opened the gate to the ocean, mild weather, gorgeous views. Life alone was unexpectedly pleasant. Ivy and Jonah came to see me off. Ivy cursed through her tears. "That bastard Chase, start my day cursing him 800 times. I hugged her. "Relax. I walked away with most of his fortune. How is that a loss? That was yours to begin with." Jonah took my phone and made his number my emergency contact. Call me the second anything happens. I'll get there as fast as I can. Don't wander anywhere without cell service, it's not safe for a woman alone. I smiled. I'm someone's mom, hardly a girl. Don't worry. Vance ruffled my hair gently. You'll always be that little kid who cried at the drop of a hat to me. For some reason my mind flashed back to the day Chase called me old. A sudden wave of grievance mixed with the sting of farewell and my eyes burned. The loudspeaker called my flight. I spun away quickly so they wouldn't see the redness. Just past security my phone buzzed with a message. 6 short words blurred my vision for a second. Stella's been in a car crash. After dozens of unanswered calls and texts to Chase, I still went back. I could talk ruthless all I wanted, but she had grown inside me for 9 months. I could live with her hating me, live without her, but I could not pretend her life meant nothing. During the month since the divorce, the Vance family had written me off. Chase's parents were convinced I'd torn the house down out of spite and refused a single word to me. No matter how I begged, they wouldn't tell me which hospital my daughter was in. Ivy and Jonah split up with me, hospital by hospital, asking. Soon Jonah rang. She's at Eastbrook, nothing critical. You. Vance hesitated. You don't really have to come. I'll take a look, just to be sure. Outside the ward I finally understood his pause. Chase wasn't there. Sophie lay in the bed, pale, and my daughter curled against her shoulder with absolute trust. Sophie, thank goodness you were here, otherwise I'd be in real trouble. Sophie stroked her hair. I'd never let Stella get hurt. By the way, you turned your dad's phone off, aren't you scared your mom will be mad? My daughter pouted. I don't want to see that witch. She'd use this as an excuse to sneak back. I won't let her win. I stood silent outside the door, convinced I had no feelings left. But the instant Jonah folded me into his arms, I realized my face was soaked. What do you two think you're doing? A cold voice cracked behind us. A rough yank pulled me away from Jonah. I turned straight into Chase's furious eyes. Hazel, we signed the papers yesterday. Do you have to flaunt it this fast? Vance sneered, jabbing a finger at Jonah. And with him? You've been sneaking around behind my back the whole time, haven't you? My daughter cannonballed out, arms spread to block the door. Don't you dare go in and bully Sophie. At that moment it all felt pointless. Exhaustion swallowed me. I couldn't muster another sentence. I slipped my hand into Jonah's and looked at Chase indifferently. Exactly. Pity it took you this long to notice. Chase and I ended in the ugliest way possible. We blacklisted each other and stayed radio silent for 5 years. I was relieved, to be honest. Those 5 years I stayed in Seabright, opened Saltlight, adopted a cat and a dog, spent 3 hours breathing salt air, sketching, walking the animals. Life was gentle. Next door lived a grandmother and her little granddaughter. The old woman was past 80. The girl, 6. The girl's grandma died 2 years ago, and no one was left to look after her. After I caught her digging through a trash can, sallow-cheeked with hunger, I adopted her. Unlike Stella's bossy temper, Josie is heartbreakingly considerate. She volunteers to handle every chore. The moment my mood dips, she blames herself and scrambles to please me. She walks on eggshells, never allowing herself the smallest whim, terrified she'll be thrown away again. It took 3 whole years for me to coax a scrap of ordinary, childish brightness back into her. So when I heard that this obedient kid had been in a fight, I was stunned. On the other end of the line, Jonah hesitated. Josie's fine, just a scratch. I took her to the clinic, don't worry. I exhaled. Why would she fight? Are the town kids still picking on her? I need to speak to their parents. No, it's a come over, will you? I'm not sure how to explain on the phone. The clinic was still chaotic when I arrived. Josie sat on a bench, wiping tears. A girl stood with her back to Josie, hands on hips, shouting. Was that your mom screaming? One more squeak and I'll rip your mouth open. Years gone, and her personality hadn't mellowed one bit. I sighed. Stella, what tantrum are you throwing now? Hearing my voice, Stella spun around, eyes lighting up. She shuffled toward me and lifted her left arm. Mom, I'm hurt, it hurts. I glanced at the faint scratches on her forearm, looked away calmly, stepped past her, and knelt in front of Josie, whose injuries were clearly worse. Josie's eyes were swollen, tears still falling. She wanted to cry but didn't dare, and the sight ached in my chest. I stroked her hair. "Mom's here, don't be scared." Behind me, Stella clenched her fists. "I'm your real daughter. Why don't you care about me? You never once came back to see me." She jabbed a finger at Jonah. "You know how long I begged him to bring me? And you still treat me like this. You don't deserve to be my mom." Jonah looked embarrassed. "Sorry, Hazel. Stella said she missed you and wanted to apologize. I shouldn't have agreed." "It's okay." After comforting Josie, I turned back to Stella. "You told me you wanted Sophie to be your mom and asked me to leave. I gave you exactly that. What are you playing at now?" Her bravado collapsed. She hung her head. "Sorry, Mom. I know I messed up. Can you stop being angry and come home with me?" I didn't answer that. "Head back early. If your dad finds out you're here, Vance won't be happy." Stella shook her head hard. "No, Vance won't. Dad. Vance misses you too." Seeing my disbelief, she rushed on. "It's true. After you left, Vance'd stare at your photos, and when Vance is drunk, Vance calls your name. Vance even kicked that woman out. Come home, Mom, we really need you." Her eyes were glassy with imminent tears. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to say anything harsher. "I'll tell your dad to come pick you up." I dialed a number I hadn't touched in 5 years. Heavy breathing answered, the voice hoarse. "Hazel." I had zero interest in decoding what that single word carried. "Your daughter's been gone this long and you only just notice." I knew she went to find you. Vance paused. "Can I come tomorrow morning?" "Fine." That night, Stella erupted again. It started when Josie, learning Stella was my biological daughter, tried to win her over. She fetched her most treasured Anya figurine to give to her big sister. Stella hurled it out the window. "Get out. This is my mom's house. What's a stray like you doing here? Have you no shame?" It was vicious, and Josie sobbed so hard she could barely breathe. I lost control and slapped Stella. Bedlam followed. Stella wailed. "Why? I'm your daughter, how can you favor her?" My head throbbed. I bent to Stella's eye level. "You're 12, old enough to understand. You're my daughter. That fact never changes and I won't deny it. But Josie is my child too. If you keep bullying her, you're not welcome here." My words were brutal. She stared, eyes shimmering, devastated. Mom, next morning, when Chase arrived, Stella's eyes were still red. Vance didn't ask a single question. Vance simply produced a gift for Josie. "First meeting, from Uncle Chase, do you like it?" It was an Anya set. Josie's longing flickered, but she shrank behind me and shook her head. "No thank you. Jonah said you hurt Mom before. I won't take anything from someone who hurt her." Chase froze. Vance rose and looked at me, lips pressed thin, rare helplessness on his face. I sighed. "Let's talk outside. Stella told me you and Jonah were never together. Why did you lie to me?" The moment we stepped out, the words burst from him. "Does it matter? Of course it matters. You have no idea how miserable I was. I've missed you all these years, but every time I thought of that, it twisted me up. I didn't know how to face you." A soft laugh escaped me. "And how do you think I felt when you and Sophie acted like a couple? When you brought her honey ginger tea, caught midnight movies and stayed out till dawn, took our daughter to Disneyland like a happy family, discussed my flaws as if I were the outsider. If that's not love, then enlighten me, what is it?" "I'm sorry, Hazel. I own every bit of that. But it's all in the past. You've never accepted Jonah's pursuit, were you waiting for me to?" "No." I cut him off. "The reason I haven't accepted him is that the wounds you and our daughter dealt me are too heavy. I'm terrified of repeating the same mistakes, terrified that if I marry again I'll drown in suspicion and endless self-torment. Saying yes before I'm fully healed would be irresponsible to myself and even more unfair to him. But do you feel anything for him?" Chase's voice scraped like gravel. "Truthfully, I didn't even know myself. All these years, whenever Jonah had a free weekend, Vance'd hop a flight and land on my doorstep. Of course I understood what that meant, but since Vance never spelled it out, I played dumb. One broken marriage had left devastation too brutal for me to risk a second round. Whenever I tried to fix him up with some woman, Vance refused, quietly, firmly. Hazel, if you don't want me, at least don't push me toward someone else. I've waited years, what's a few more? Don't feel you're wasting my life. Loving you is my choice, you're free to accept or reject it, and you owe me nothing. Honestly, with that steady, tender gaze fixed on me, my heart had sprinted more than once. Yet each time the rush subsided and reason returned, I shrank back into my shell. My silence looked like denial to Chase. Vance hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. Hazel, I know you still care about me and Stella. Let me prove I can change and never hurt you again. From that day forward, Chase and Stella acted like different people. Though I'd clearly refused his plea to reconcile, Vance rented the cottage next door and showed up at dawn to fix things Vance insisted were broken. Stella curbed her bratty streak. She still disliked Josie but stopped freezing her out, even sharing cookies. The situation suffocated me, yet no amount of plain speaking dislodged them, so I quit trying. Jonah kept flying in once a week. Chase's renewed courtship frustrated him, yet his first concern was comforting me. If you believe Vance's changed and want to try again, don't worry about me, your happiness comes first. I shook my head. I won't. I know him too well. Right now Vance is chasing what Vance can't have. The moment I say yes and routine sets in, I'll bore him again. Another month crawled by, my refusal gnawed at Chase. On my 35th birthday, Vance buried the yard in roses and hunted through 3 auctions to win a $5 million De Beers necklace. I never set foot inside the house, Jonah, Josie, and I spent the day at Disneyland. When we finally got home near midnight, Chase sat slumped on the steps, hollow-eyed. Hazel, is the sin I committed truly unforgivable? You won't even offer me one chance. There's nothing to forgive, Chase. I'm telling you plainly, we are impossible. Stop wasting your time. Stella clutched the doorframe, tears streaming. Mommy, don't you want me either? My feelings for her were a tangled knot. I couldn't forget the cruelty, yet I kept seeing the toddler who'd once tottered after me, who'd patted my tears away with dimpled hands. Stella, Mommy has a new life now, and you'll build your own. She understood and broke into ragged sobs. That night my sleep was patchwork. First the memory of Chase kissing my forehead on our wedding day, marrying you is the luckiest thing I've ever done, then the sneer Vance wore the night we signed divorce papers, Stella's disdainful face superimposed over both. Faces twisted and fused until a shrilling phone jolted me awake. Alex, your boyfriend and your daughter fell into the sea, get to West Beach, farce. I sprinted out barefoot. When I reached the shore, a crowd had formed, Josie's heart-wrenching wails knifed straight through me. I shoved through and saw Jonah sprawled on the sand, people pounding his chest. Chase and Stella stood nearby, their blankness chilling. Jonah lay motionless, seawater pale against his colorless skin. I knelt, trembling, and felt for breath, nothing. A tidal wave of grief slammed me. I gasped like a stranded fish. Chase reached down. Hazel, don't despair. Stella and I will stay with you. Get away. I flung his arm off, bile in my throat. Vance went to meet you. Why is Vance in the ocean while you're still breathing? Before the call, I'd received Jonah's text. Let me talk to Chase, man to man. Seeing him lifeless fed my suspicion. Josie tugged my sleeve, hiccuping. She pushed me in. Uncle Jonah dived to save me. Stella shrieked, liar. You slipped, but guilt flickered too clearly. I hauled myself up, swung with every ounce of rage, and sent her sprawling. I have no daughter anymore, stay out of my sight. Chase's complexion mottled. It was an accident. Stella didn't mean. I turned on him. Neither of you exist for me ever again. Vance coughed it up. Vance's breathing, a stranger shouted. I dropped beside Jonah, clutching his icy, gritty hand. When his lashes lifted, words failed. I covered his fingers with kiss after desperate kiss. Vance gave a faint smile and slipped back into unconsciousness. On my wedding day, I glimpsed Chase in the back pew, Stella writhing in his arms as security escorted them out. Give me my mommy back, she screamed. The doors shut. I met Jonah's gaze. Vance lifted my veil and pressed a reverent kiss to my gloved hand. Josie beamed while passing us the rings. The quagmire was finally behind me. Ahead lay nothing but sunlit, boundless days. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and share with friends. We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.
Adrian sank into depression, no appetite, no will to move. I brought the lilies he loved most. He flicked them a glance, then tossed them into the trash. I put on a clown costume and danced on the sidewalk just to make him smile. He looked away, ice cold. You know I'm a sucker for looks, and you still parade around in that thing? Disgusting. Get lost. I thought I'd messed up again, made Adrian unhappy, until his phone rang and his childhood sweetheart's name lit the screen. In a heartbeat he was radiant. Serena, you're staying? Perfect, I'm on my way. He left me standing in the middle of the night market, never once looking back. So I really was nothing more than a stand-in. This time I didn't cry or rage. I just called Mom. I'll go abroad with you and Dad. When Adrian finally came home he was still wearing the clown costume, soaked to the skin, eyes glittering with exhilaration. Clearly the party wasn't over. I glanced at the torrent outside and felt my throat burn. To win one smile from her, he'd worn the very outfit he called revolting. Hand in hand through the downpour, they must have been deliriously happy. When I used to beg him to pick me up on rainy days, he'd shut me down cold. I hate rain. Call yourself an Uber. Loving someone and being loved, I saw, were currencies that never traded one for one. Didn't you see my texts? Do you know how long Serena and I waited? The moment he spotted me on the couch his face chilled, as though I owed him millions. I was on the phone with Mom. I didn't see them. My answer was flat. Excuse, he sniffed. You know Serena and I grew up together. Why the jealousy? She stood up to her parents to stay here. The least I can do is show her around and help her unwind. A tiny smirk tugged at his mouth as he finished. I watched him disappear into the bathroom, wondering what memory had made him smile. A sweet replay of the night? Or the thrill of seeing me jealous? Buzz. His phone jittered on the coffee table. Serena. I picked up. He's in the shower. Oh. Just checking he got home. Tell him it's my fault he's drenched. Don't be mad at him, okay? She hung up before I could answer. I could picture the smug tilt of her lips. She's always held the high ground, of course she's smug. Still, a stubborn flicker of resentment made me key in his passcode and open WhatsApp. Top of the chat list, babe. Not me. The turquoise ocean avatar belonged to Serena. He'd long since unpinned me. Our message threads were night and day. My dozens of texts vanished into silence. Adrian flooded Serena with every mundane update, meals, books, new songs, random dogs, and drifted leaves. Even when she replied with a lone emoji or not at all, he kept pouring love out. Maybe we're the same species of fool, Adrian and I, only we worship different altars. I don't want to be a stand-in anymore. I won't exhaust myself for someone whose heart is a projector looping his first love's face. Let them have their happy ending. Let me go. A clean break, quiet and dignified, will be my last gift to him. All night he stayed in the bedroom, but his laughter spilled through the door. See? He's no iceberg. He can laugh until his cheeks hurt, just not with me. If we game together he never cracks a smile, only berates me for every missed move. I apologize even when my chest feels caved in. Well, I'm done caring. The morning after the storm is bright. I used to cook his favorites, today I buy only mine. I pack what I can carry, everything else hits the trash, including the framed selfie on the nightstand. Adrian sleeps like the dead, earbuds in, still voice chatting with Serena. By the time he stumbles out it's 3 in the afternoon. He never touches leftovers, and he's picky as hell, something I use to orchestrate my days around. I don't head for the kitchen. Let's eat out, I say evenly, then hit the concert. Last week he surprised me with Beacon tickets. I danced like a fool, sure I'd finally melted the glacier. I hadn't, so consider this our closing number. Sure. Adrian had just nodded when his phone vibrated. He glanced down, a pleased curve tugged at the corner of his mouth, and he hurried to the bathroom to take the call. He really was that happy. I watched Adrian's back as he walked away, a bitter ache threading through my chest. A stand-in is always a stand-in. She'll never get the treatment the real thing receives. And on top of that, she's played for a fool. A few minutes later he came out. Luna, sorry, the label needs me for a deal. Let's do the beacon another night. I'll bring you a present when I get back. He was already out the door before the words finished leaving his mouth. I didn't expose his lie, didn't try to stop him, just acted as if I hadn't noticed and kept packing. By evening my suitcases were zipped. I ordered a DoorDash order, collapsed on the couch, and idly flicked through my TikTok feed until a familiar figure flashed across the screen. It was a short clip of Serena and Adrian, cheek to cheek at the beacon, singing along and waving LED wristbands. I remembered the night he'd asked me to the concert, exactly when Serena was supposedly flying back overseas. Clearly, she had been his first choice. I was only the fallback. I tapped into Serena's profile, photo after photo of her and Adrian, chatting, gaming, chronicling their everyday rituals. Every caption dripped sugar. Forever my childhood night. Another all-nighter with big bro Adrian, still buzzing. Distance can't dim us. We miss each other across oceans. My nose stung. Maybe heaven, afraid I'd crawl back in humiliation, shoved her post in front of me. In the past I would have speed-dialed Adrian, demanded explanations, erupted into a fight. Then he'd hang up, hit me with silent treatment, and wait for me to cave. This time I simply booked my ticket. 2 days and I'd be gone. Why humiliate myself further? When Adrian finally came home, Serena and a handful of friends trailed behind him, ready to crash into a party. I hear Luna's an amazing cook. Wow us, Serena chirped. I've been cleaning all day. I'm beat. Not happening. My voice stayed flat. Oh? Serena blinked, then pouted. You don't want me here? Luna, quit the drama, Adrian snapped, brows knitted. I hadn't said a word. That's the difference between being treasured and being disposable. One of the buddies egged it on. Come on, sis, Serena's Taylor's bestie. Show some respect, after all. He didn't finish, they all laughed. I knew the rest. I'm just the stand-in who must keep Adrian happy to keep her title. Enough, Adrian cut in, rare for him, and sent 2 guys out for beer. Music blasted, voices soared, Adrian and Serena danced themselves breathless. I stayed in the bedroom, yet every shout sliced through the wall. Is Luna still sulking? It's my fault, really. Serena's practiced mean girl act floated in. So petty. Taylor, why keep a girlfriend who dissed you like that, right? You and Serena are the real match. She just slipped through the cracks. The chorus crescendoed. Adrian didn't defend me, only barked, drink and roll the dice, shifting the spotlight. I could already guess the insults piling up. No point volunteering for more ridicule, better to vanish. Mom chose that moment to call. I grabbed my phone, planning to head outside for air while we talked. But the instant I opened the door I saw them, Adrian and Serena welded together in a heated kiss, whether from the liquor or long-buried desire, who knows. Their faces were flushed, lips sticky, reluctant to part. Adrian, look how evil they are, setting such an embarrassing dare. Feel my cheeks, burning, Serena whined, guiding his hand to her face. A bet's a bet, can't be called a sore loser, Adrian laughed, then spotted me, his smile freezing. The room fell mute. We're playing dice, loser's penalty, he offered, recovering. Yeah, Luna, we grew up side by side, we kissed tons as kids, no big deal, just fooling, Serena added. Blame me, sis, I picked the dare, another friend said. Lighten up, it's nothing worth flipping over. Same old script, blame the victim, guilt tripped me into swallowing it. Before, I would have shaken, cried, demanded justice. Now my chest only felt tight, anger seemed wasteful. I'm not upset. Keep going. If the couch is cramped, take the bed, I don't mind. I turned away, ignoring Serena's sudden tears and Adrian's darkening face. He chased me, first time ever. Past episodes ended with me stranded, this was new. All our friends are watching. Stop the scene, come toast Serena and apologize, he ordered. So much for change, he only hated the scene I'd caused his first love. I'm not staging anything, I meant every word. I kept walking. Luna. He caught my arm. Since when are you this irrational? Serena's crying, can't you hear? Resistance offended him, 6 years of submission had become his baseline. Right, I'm irrational, I said, shaking free. My heart had simply iced over. He didn't follow. He'd assume I'd lick my wounds and crawl back, tail wagging. If Serena had stormed out at midnight he'd already be combing the streets in panic. Once, she posted from a bar, the photo showed a booth full of shady guys, Adrian tore over there in pajamas. That same week a creep tailed me home after work. I told Adrian and he diagnosed me with paranoia. I called the cops myself, the stalker was arrested. I checked into a random hotel, spoke to mom, showered, and slept. Relationship abandoned, Adrian abandoned, my mind felt light for the first time in years. That night I slept soundly. No longer did I hug my phone till midnight, waiting for Adrian. No longer did a single word or gesture from him toss me between hope and despair until the insomnia won. The next morning I woke to a sliver of sunrise slipping through the curtains. When I picked up my phone, I found dozens of missed calls and hundreds of texts from Adrian. Where's the antacid in the apartment? Serena has a stomachache. Luna, where are you? Why aren't you home? Why won't you pick up? Text me the second you see this. For the first time ever, Adrian was frantically, desperately looking for me. And, as always, it was for Serena's sake. In almost 5 years together, he had never done a single thing purely for me. A little pathetic, really. Partly out of spite, I let the messages sit. I ate breakfast out before I headed home. The living room looked like a war zone, bottles everywhere, cigarette butts swimming in cold leftovers. On the couch, Adrian's hair was a wild mess. Clearly he and Serena had had themselves a night. Otherwise how could he be this wrecked? He opened his eyes slowly. The instant he spotted me, he sprang up and stared me down. Where were you? Why didn't you answer me? You've never stayed out all night, are you? Before he could flip the script and accuse me of cheating, I cut in. I cleared out so you and Serena could have space. Considerate, right? Adrian's mouth opened, then closed. Nothing came out. Besides, the party was too loud. I like quiet. You used to say you loved crowds and noise, he mumbled. Used to like doesn't mean still like. I almost confessed that I'd never liked it, but that sounded melodramatic, something that would only touch me, so I swallowed the line. Last night was just a joke, a game. Serena's made it clear we're only friends. Don't overthink it, okay? He grabbed my arm, rushing to explain, his normally distant eyes flickering with panic. Even his voice sounded different. Surprising. In the past he would have iced me out with a careless sentence, end of discussion. Today he explained. Afraid I might lose it and go after Serena? When I stayed silent, he dug out a white gift box and thrust it at me. Right, I bought this for you yesterday. He cracked it open eagerly. I felt nothing. Inside lay another brow pencil, exactly like all the others he'd given me. It wasn't that I scorned the thing. It was that when Adrian picked gifts for Serena, he racked his brain and stayed up all night researching. For me, always an afterthought. Forget it. At this point, arguing would be pointless. Seeing my blank face, he hurried on. Let's hit Riverside today. Sure, we can walk around. I agreed. I wanted one last look at the city. Too many memories were stitched into its streets. At Riverside, Adrian asked what ride I felt like. I blinked. The cyclone. In the past he never asked, he simply dragged me along, as if I were a decorative spare part. He pulled me into the queue, then bought me ice cream to cool down. He never used to do that either, so why the sudden warmth? If he'd acted like this before, I'd have been giddy. Now I smelled an ulterior motive. Otherwise why the show? Just as we neared the front, Jordan buzzed. He glanced at the screen and hesitated. Answer it, I said. What if it's something urgent? I could see the caller, Serena. Adrian exhaled in relief, then answered like a starving man lunging at food. Serena, what's wrong? Adrian, my head, it hurts, can you bring me some pills? Her soft sobs floated through the speaker. Can I have someone else drop them off? He asked, frowning. My brows lifted. This was new, the old Adrian would have bolted to her already. Instead, he stayed, feigning interest in the cyclone. Adrian, do I annoy you now? Fine, forget it. The mean girl act complete, Serena hung up. Adrian's face darkened. He looked at me. Can I go check on Serena? Go. Calm, indifferent. I'll be right back, he promised, finally smiling as he hurried away. His back disappeared fast and final. I was the one left behind, again. All today's warmth had been a mirage. But whatever. No point overthinking. I boarded the cyclone alone. While it plunged and twisted and my stomach floated, I screamed until my throat stung, releasing everything. No more pretending, no more shifting myself to fit someone else. Riverside had dozens of rides. I rode nearly every one. By the time I left it was after 10. Adrian texted once, something about the heat and going home early. He seemed to have forgotten he'd said he'd come right back. My flight left at dawn, so I showered, grabbed my suitcase, and headed for the airport. Hope you and Serena are happy. I sent that text, powered off my phone, and boarded. I leaned against the window as the city's glittering quilt shrank beneath us. Once I'd dreamed Adrian and I would plant roots there, conquer it together. I'd even fought Mom over him. When she learned I was dating, she asked to meet him. Adrian bailed last minute and ran to Serena. So Mom tagged him unreliable and rude, against us from the start. But love had me deaf. Even when my parents threatened to cut me off, I refused to bend. Eventually they let me go, hearts heavy. Mom had been right. No matter how lovely the fantasy, now I could only carry the memories and leave. Would Adrian ever regret it? Maybe, but it no longer concerned me. Out of the gate I spotted Mom craning her neck. "Mom," I dashed like a kid. "My sweet girl." After 2 years apart, she hugged me tight, voice breaking. "You've lost so much weight. I'll fatten you up." Her familiar warmth melted my armor, tears slipped free. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have listened." For 2 years she'd worried herself sick, wiring money she feared I needed while I wasted every ounce of effort pleasing Adrian. "You're home now," she said, eyes gentle, zero blame. "Life isn't a straight line. We trip, we stand, we move forward." Dad took my suitcase, his eyes were red too. We ate out, then drove home. "Luna, come see your room. I decorated it myself, what do you think?" Mom tugged me inside. Blush pink everywhere, my favorite. I hadn't lived in pink since moving in with Adrian. Blue had ruled our place because he liked it. "I bought you new clothes, too." She flung open the wardrobe, dozens of dresses, shoes already paired. Every single piece was in a style I loved. "To pick these out for you, your mom dragged me around for 2 solid days, my legs almost gave out," Dad teased. "Casey, love you guys." My nose stung, I blinked hard, hugging Mom before moving to Dad. I'd dated Adrian for years. I knew every preference of his. He never learned mine, he just kept telling me what to do. Warm moments like this had been almost non-existent. Only now did it hit me, I was Mom's treasure too. Why put up with anyone's crap? Why keep humiliating myself? Leaving had been the right call. I napped for a while, then finally switched my phone back on. It vibrated non-stop. Dozens of texts, dozens of missed calls, all from Adrian. I didn't want to answer, but when he rang again I hesitated, then picked up. "Luna, listen, yesterday Serena was in rough shape, totally listless, couldn't even eat, so I stayed with her longer. I didn't mean to ditch you at Riverside. Let's go back to Riverside tomorrow, okay?" He spoke in a frantic rush. "No need. I'm already in Italy," I said evenly. "What?" Adrian froze. "We're done." That note I left? "Sincere congratulations to you and Serena." My voice was calmer than it had been days earlier, stripped of any emotion. "Where in Italy?" "I'll come find you," he insisted. "No contact is better for both of us." I was puzzled. He only ever cared about Serena, had always treated me with arctic silence. Shouldn't he be thrilled we broke up? Shouldn't he announce his love for his first love, Serena, already? Why chase the stand-in? Weird, whatever. I had let go. I didn't want to see him again. "Luna, we can talk things through like we used." That was then. This is now. "I compromised on everything because I loved you, I don't anymore." I cut him off. This is. He stammered, then snapped, "You pursued me first, Luna. Now you dump me out of nowhere? What game are you playing? Years together and it's this fragile?" Listening to his accusations, I almost laughed. "Would you keep cradling a stone you know will never warm up?" A long silence from him. I hung up, but he wouldn't quit, pleading for one last meeting, begging me to reconsider. I inhaled, deleted his contact, and walked out of the bedroom. Mom was right there holding chicken soup. She must have heard everything. Before I could speak she smiled and said, "Don't overthink. Drink the soup, then let's go sightsee." "Okay," I smiled back. The next few days, before starting my new job, I snapped photos everywhere. Carefree, light, I felt nothing tugging at me. Then one of Adrian's buddies added me to a group chat filled with his friends. "Luna, having fun playing dead? Lost Taylor now, huh, haha. A guy that amazing was doing you a favor and you threw a tantrum, serves you right. A stand-in throwing attitude? Idiot much?" Taylor and Serena already flew abroad, regret won't help even if your guts turn green. Buy us presents and maybe we'll put in a good word. I want a MacBook. PS5 for me. Their true colors disgusted and amused me. I typed, "You've got it backwards." I dumped Adrian, he's not worth my love. The chat went dead, then exploded in question marks, followed by disbelief. Ask Adrian yourselves, I added before I quit and deleted every friend tied to him. I'd endured them only to please him, no more. Half an hour later they bombarded me with friend requests. All said, sorry sis, we were wrong, don't be mad. I blocked everyone. 2 quiet weeks passed. I started work at Dad's invested company, gathering experience. That evening a thin drizzle drifted down. Under my umbrella I strolled the street, loving the gentle rain, until a familiar voice cracked behind me. Luna. I turned. Adrian stood unprotected, soaked. His once pale handsome face looked haggard, stubbled. His dull eyes flared the moment he recognized me, and he rushed over like a madman. Luna, it's really you. I've searched forever. Aren't you abroad with Serena? I asked, brows raised. I didn't go with her, he shook his head. I went back to Paris, then came to Italy, to find you. Can we talk? I need answers, and I have things to say. His gaze poured emotion. Fine. I nodded and led him to a nearby Chinese restaurant. The rain, and his dramatic drenched look, was drawing stares I didn't want. Both hands wrapped around hot tea, he took a sip, then asked earnestly, I still don't get it. You loved me so much, how did that vanish in days? Found someone new? His eyes pinned mine, hunting for lies. There's no one else. I tired of being the only one rowing, tired of no response. You never loved me, his fists clenched. If I didn't love you, why stay 6 years? What you felt wasn't love. You used me as Serena's substitute. You got used to my devotion. A forced melon isn't sweet, but it still quenches thirst, right? I stared at him flatly, sighed, not from regret, only resignation. Sam, he was still delusional, unwilling to face himself. Serena and I are merely, just friends? I cut in. You crossed that line ages ago. Everyone thinks you two belong together. You know you can't let her go. You're unwilling to accept anything less. You want to spend your life with her. My face is the living evidence. Instead of lying, be brave and admit it. At least then I could respect you. I shredded every excuse. He looked like a thief caught red-handed, panic-stricken, lips bloodless, lost for words. Adrian, search your heart. Did you fly all this way because you truly love me, or just because my absence feels strange for the moment? I'd say it's the latter. If I hadn't ended things, if we'd kept limping along, you'd still be pining for Serena. She's the white moon hung high over your heart. At most, I'm her shadow. Since that's the case, we'd better cut our losses now. For both our sakes, go win Serena back. I poured every thought out in one breath, surprisingly calm, as if recounting someone else's story. Cold sweat dotted Adrian's forehead, his teacup clattered to the table. The scalding water soaked his hands, but he didn't flinch, he only stared at me and asked, can you give me one chance to make this right? In the past I never considered your feelings. I raised my hand again, cutting him off, then couldn't help laughing. No need. Any more explanations are too late, I don't want to hear them. Every time I compromised, I was already giving you a chance, you just never knew how to treasure it. Check please, waiter. I stood to leave. Luna. Tears shimmered in his eyes, he grabbed my sleeve and pleaded, everything before was my fault. Please believe me this once, give me another chance to love you, please? 6 years of feelings, 6 years of slow self-destruction, I'm losing handfuls of hair. Please stop hounding me. Can't we end this with a little dignity? I threw the question back at him, shook off his hand, and strode out of the Chinese restaurant. Outside, the drizzle continued. I didn't look back, didn't even think to offer him an umbrella. I thought he'd give up, but he chased after me again. Luna, listen to me. The clinginess repelled me. I kept walking without turning, but he caught my arm. Luna, you've always been in my heart, it's just. I've been messed up since I was a kid, watch out. Mid-sentence he shoved me aside. A car shot past and slammed into him, he crumpled, unconscious. I called an ambulance and then phoned Mom to explain everything. After emergency care the doctor said his life wasn't in danger, but his leg was fractured, he needed surgery and 3 or 4 months of recovery. Mom covered the bills and hired a private aid. That night when Adrian woke and saw Mom beside him he greeted her at once, Uncle, Aunt, thank you. Since he had pushed me clear of the crash, Mom's manner wasn't hostile, she gave a slight nod. Uncle, Aunt, please talk to Luna, beg her to give me one more chance to love her. I can't lose her, he wept. Dad drew a long breath. My daughter swallowed every insult to move to your city, how did you treat her? You never gave her the slightest care. Mom chimed in, which friends kiss each other? Which boyfriend abandons his girlfriend to look after another woman? You and Serena acted like a couple, how was my daughter supposed to feel? Her message was clear, no help from them. Actually, Adrian glanced at me, hesitated, then confessed, Serena was never really interested in me, she only looks me up when she's bored, she enjoys being adored. I love Luna. At first I didn't care much, but gradually I fell for her. Hearing that, 2 words flashed through my mind, serves you right. And weren't you enjoying my daughter's care just as much? Mom shot back. You knew Serena was stringing you along, so why keep running to her? Dad demanded. Cornered by the questions, Adrian fell silent. Adrian, you're just unwilling to accept defeat. No matter how many times you ask, my answer is the same, we have no future. I finished, took Mom's arm, and left. Afterward I phoned the consulate to report Adrian's accident. The consulate called back saying Adrian wanted to see me one last time. I walked out under an umbrella but didn't go to the hospital. I simply wandered the streets, listening to the patter of rain, savoring the calm. Since love is gone, cut it clean. Part ways, never meet again. Extra chapter, Adrian's view. I lay in the hospital bed, thoughts churning. When Luna first confessed to me, Serena had just rejected me, again. And Luna looked a bit like Serena, gentle and thoughtful, so I said yes. As time passed I wanted to be with her, she was so soft, so devoted. Then Serena came back from Paris. My heart wavered again, I drifted towards Serena and ignored Luna's feelings. That day I noticed a lot of things missing from the apartment, the framed photos of Luna and me had vanished. Was Luna planning to break up? The thought flickered, but I brushed it off. The night of the party I assumed Luna would sulk and return as usual, but this time she stayed away, no answer, no reply. I panicked, tried to be nicer, even suggested the Riverside Fair. Yet Serena fell ill again. After wavering, the same old demon won. I went to look after Serena. Luna showed no anger. I thought she'd compromised once more, but this time she left. The apartment was empty. Everything connected to her had disappeared. Her phone stayed off, messages unread. Alone at home, I felt hollow for the first time, my chest actually ached. The next few days were torture. No one cooked. No one's bright chatter filled the rooms. Out of habit I called for Luna to hand me something, only silence answered. It felt like I'd been abandoned. Friends invited me out, I had no mood to go. Serena came over. When I told her, she smirked and said Luna was just her stand-in, no big deal. She even called Luna mean girl, claiming she'd deliberately seduced me by resembling Serena. For the first time I lost my temper with Serena and slapped her. She slapped me back, stormed out, blocked and deleted me. After that I hid the trip from everyone and flew to Italy alone, hoping to win Luna back. I roamed the streets every day. At last I spotted a familiar silhouette. I was overjoyed, shouting her name, but the moment she turned, my heart went cold. Her gaze was icy, looking at me like a stranger. I still tried to explain, to salvage us. Yet every sentence from Luna and her parents left me speechless. I had ignored Luna's feelings. I hadn't known how to cherish her. Letting my heart waver was my fault. Having Luna's love was the greatest honor of my life. She isn't anyone's stand-in. She's uniquely, brilliantly herself. But by the time I understood, she had already walked out of reach. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked the video, hit like and share with friends. We're looking forward to your comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. See you next time. For 10 years I was the invisible investor behind my business prodigy husband. On the day his company went public, stock transfer agreement in hand, I walked into the bell-ringing ceremony to surprise him. Under the spotlights he had my own sister in his arms, gazing at her with syrupy devotion. To my love and muse, without her, none of this would exist. The hall erupted in applause. My only daughter stood behind them, rings at the ready, calling my sister Mom. When she spotted me she mouthed a single word, scram. I didn't scram, I simply left the hall in silence. The next morning, while he and the press were toasting his new status as a $100 billion CEO, his phone rang. It was the SEC. The company's largest shareholder, me, had just filed a whistleblower report, accounting fraud and an illegal securities offering. Serena, where the hell are you? Adrian's call came choked with barely caged fury. I was in a cafe along the Hudson River, lazily swirling a spoon through my latte. Something on your mind? Something? You torched my life and you ask if something's on my mind? His voice cracked under the rage. The stock opened limit down and trading's been halted. SEC investigators are crawling through our offices, every ledger is locked. Serena, why? 10 years of marriage, what did I ever do to you? I gave a soft laugh. Adrian, right now you should worry less about the share price, and more about how long you stay out of a cell. I hung up and blocked his number. Silence at last. Across the table my attorney, Chase, slid a file toward me. Ma'am, we're on schedule. Preliminary asset freeze inventory for their holding companies. I skimmed it. Good. What are Adrian and Luna up to? Riley. Adrian's still locked in crisis meetings. Luna hit 3 luxury boutiques this morning, trying to blow the gift checks from yesterday's launch. All her cards, primary and supplemental, are frozen. She's throwing a tantrum in the mall as we speak. I nodded. Predictable. Luna, stupid and greedy. Yesterday on stage she'd clung to Adrian's arm, wearing the necklace I'd once wanted, smiling like she'd won the world. She thought that was her victory lap. It was her last party. I looked out the window. Yesterday, this same glass had framed the grand bell ringing. I'd watched Adrian hug Luna and crown her his muse. I'd watched my daughter Audrey present the rings and call Luna mom. Audrey saw me. The contempt in her eyes was a blade. Soundlessly she told me, get lost. 10 years. 10 years I'd given Adrian. From nothing to a billionaire myth. I'd stayed in the shadows, plotting, networking, filling every pit he dug. I was the bedrock, the anonymous angel he toasted in every interview. I thought the IPO would finally make me real. I'd even brought the stock transfer agreement. I was going to place every share in our daughter's name for her 18th birthday. Instead I got the cruelest betrayal. My phone rang again, unknown number. Luna's shrill voice poured through. Serena, you bitch. Who gave you the right to freeze my cards? That money is Adrian's gift to me, mine. My tone stayed flat. Every dollar you spend is mine. Luna, the game just started. Curses spilled from the speaker. I cut her off. Chase studied me. Next step, ma'am? I sipped my coffee. Wait. Let them chew each other up. Adrian's PR machine fired fast. By 3 p.m. a statement topped every finance site, regarding the malicious complaint against Blue Ocean. Founder Adrian expresses deep regret. The complainant, Serena, is Mr. Vance's ex-wife. The couple divorced by agreement 1 year ago. Ms. Vance, motivated by personal resentment, has slandered the company and Mr. Vance. We have engaged counsel and will pursue all legal remedies. Below it, a forged divorce settlement with my signature reproduced to perfection. Online sentiment flipped overnight. So it's just a scorned ex-wife? Scary chick. Can't get the guy so she nukes him? Toxic. Feel bad for Adrian, imagine being stuck with that psycho. Luna seized the moment, posting a tear-streaked video. Why does my sister hate me? Adrian and I are truly in love. If my existence hurts her, I'll step away. Adrian pulled her close on camera. None of this is your fault. I just didn't handle the past properly. The only woman I've ever loved is you. A picture-perfect tragedy. They cast themselves as victims. I became the spurned, vengeful crazy ex. Chase handed me the tablet, frown deepening. They're muddying the water, this smear could hurt us. I stared at the lovey-dovey screen couple, utterly calm. Expected. Manipulating hearts is Adrian's superpower, in boardrooms and bedrooms alike. Chase hesitated. So we stay silent. I said. Let them dance. The higher they jump, the harder they crash. My phone buzzed. A text from Audrey. Why are you doing this to Dad? You're disgusting. I don't want a mother like you. The words felt like a frozen fist around my heart. It hurt, for a heartbeat. Then it didn't. I passed the phone to Chase. Answer her. He hesitated. What should I say? Tell her if she wants her cushy life to continue, keep her mouth shut. Chase blinked, then nodded. Very good, ma'am. While he was typing the text, my private phone rang. It was an encrypted call. I picked up. Boss, the fish took the bait. On the other end was a low male voice. He's reached out to an offshore outfit that specializes in dirty jobs. The target is you. Excellent. The corner of my mouth lifted. Proceed as planned. Make sure he never makes it back. I hung up and looked at Chase. Notify the SEC, time to close the net. Chase looked startled. Now? But the optics. I cut him off. Public opinion is the most useless thing in the world. In the face of hard evidence, it collapses. Besides, what I've handed them goes far beyond accounting fraud. The SEC's second announcement came at exactly 8 a.m. the same day, just as Luna went on air. The notice was long, the attachments many. 3 points were central. First, Blue Ocean founder Adrian is suspected of embezzlement, having illegally siphoned off $3 billion in corporate assets. Second, Blue Ocean's core technology, SkyVault, is suspected of patent infringement. Its source code is 95% identical to that of the bankrupt Celestial project 7 years ago. Third, Adrian personally is suspected of commercial fraud, having forged a divorce settlement to mislead investors and the public. Each claim carried an unbreakable chain of evidence: bank transfers, code comparisons, reports on the forged signatures, ironclad proof. If the first whistleblower letter had been a pebble tossed into a lake, this notice was a depth charge. The entire financial world exploded. Blue Ocean's overseas listed stock imploded within seconds. Adrian's phone melted down. Investors, shareholders, reporters, and the police. When officers walked into Blue Ocean's top floor office, Adrian was still meeting with his PR team, brainstorming new ways to smear me. The moment he saw the uniforms, he froze. "Officers, there must be some misunderstanding?" He tried to stay composed. The lead cop said nothing as he held up the warrant. "Adrian, you're suspected of multiple serious economic crimes. Come with us." The instant the cuffs snapped on, panic swallowed him. He thrashed wildly. "On what grounds?" "It's Serena. That bitch is framing me. I want my lawyer." The officers ignored his shrieks and hauled him out. Luna was at home dreaming sweet dreams. Visions of herself as $100 billion heiress, bathed in glory. When the police kicked the door in, she rolled off the bed in terror. As Adrian's co-beneficiary, and holder of part of the illicit assets, she'd become a prime target. "I don't know. I know nothing. Adrian gave me every dollar. It's not my fault." Facing detectives, she shoved off all responsibility, yet every wire transfer, every villa, sports car, and diamond in her name became evidence she couldn't deny. The golden couple of yesterday became jailbirds overnight. I saw the footage of their arrest the next morning on the news. Adrian in a rumpled $1,000 suit, hair wild, eyes darting with fear and disbelief. Luna barefaced, jacket yanked over her head, a wreck. Chase stood beside me, voice tinged with satisfaction. "Ma'am, they're finished." I nodded. "No, not yet. This was only the appetizer." My phone rang. "Audrey's school." "Is this Audrey's guardian?" "She didn't show up today and her phone's off." I frowned. "Understood." I dialed another number. "Find Audrey's location." 10 minutes later the pin dropped, an abandoned pier on the East River. I arrived under a thin drizzle. Audrey stood on the warehouse roof's edge, swaying. Below, officers wrestled an airbag into place and shouted up at her. "Hey, kid, don't do anything rash. Talk to us, come down." She heard none of it. Then she saw me. Rain plastered her hair to her face and soaked her clothes. She looked small, pitiful, but the hatred in her eyes was glacial. "Happy now?" she screamed. "You destroyed Dad, destroyed Mom, destroyed our entire family. Are you satisfied?" The mom she meant was Luna. I looked at her, heart turning to ice. "Audrey, step away from the edge." My voice was steady. "No." She was shaking. "You're a demon. You ruined them. If anything happens to them, I'll jump and make you regret it forever." Using her own life to threaten me, my darling daughter. I glanced at the officer beside me. "Where's your negotiator?" He looked helpless. "On the way, but she's so volatile we daren't get close." I nodded. "No need to wait. I'm her mother, I'll talk." Ignoring their protests, I walked into the warehouse. Inside it was hollow, rust-eaten girders and scattered junk. I climbed the wobbling iron ladder to the roof. The rain intensified. Wind snapped my coat like a flag. I moved toward her step by step. She was crying, tears and rain indistinguishable. "Don't come nearer." One more step and I jump. I stopped 5 meters away. "Audrey, do you truly believe you can scare me like this?" The wind scattered my words, but she caught every one. She froze. What do you mean?" I met her gaze, speaking each word clearly. "In your heart I'm a madwoman who wrecked everything just to get back at your father. A cold monster who wouldn't even flinch at her own child's death. If that's so, then your jumping would only play right into my hands. I could tell the world your father's crimes drove you to suicide out of shame. And I'd be the grieving mother the world pities. Audrey's face strained of every last drop of color. She stared at me, trembling in disbelief and terror. No, you won't. I'm your daughter. Daughter? I laughed. The daughter who called the other woman mom in front of the whole world? The daughter who told me to get lost? Audrey, you overate yourself. And you underrate me. Jump. I stretched out my hand toward her in a be my guest gesture. I'll watch. Dylan. My frozen stare snapped the last thread of courage holding her up. She collapsed onto the roof, sobbing. I didn't go to her. I simply turned and called down. She's safe, come up and get her. The officers climbed up and carried the broken Audrey away. I followed them down. An ambulance screamed in and then out. I never looked at Audrey again. Chase stepped under an umbrella to my side. Ma'am, are you all right? I shook my head. I'm fine. Back to the office. In the car, Chase finally spoke. Serena, wasn't that a bit harsh? He didn't finish, but the word hung there. Too ruthless. I watched the rain streak past the window. Chase, do you know what dig up the weeds by the roots means? Chase went quiet. Mercy to an enemy is cruelty to yourself. Audrey isn't an enemy, she's my daughter. But she is also the sharpest blade Adrian and Luna left beside me. If I don't destroy her hope today, someone else will use her to stab me tomorrow. I've lived through that once, I won't do it again. Chase sighed and said nothing more. Back at headquarters, the Blue Ocean mess was waiting. Shareholders meeting, Rowan, creditors meeting, one after another. Everyone scurried like ants on a hot pan. When I appeared they saw salvation. Casey, you're finally here. They all call me Casey now. With the shares I own and those I proxy, I control 51%. I'm Blue Ocean's largest shareholder. Can we claw back the $3 billion Adrian embezzled? Are we facing crippling damages for patent infringement? The banks are pulling credit, our cash flow will snap. Question after question flew. I raised a hand, silence fell. Ladies and gentlemen, I swept my gaze around the table. Blue Ocean will not fall. First, the $3 billion Adrian misappropriated is already being chased by a specialist team, most will be recovered within a week. Second, on patent infringement, I paused. The core technology of the Skyvault system has always belonged to me. Stares all around. I looked at one director, Quinn. Quinn, you remember the Celestial project 7 years ago, don't you? His face went white. Celestial had been my father Theodore's life's work, and the cause of our family's ruin. Back then Adrian had been merely one of Dad's project managers. Ownership of Celestial remained in my father's name, it was never transferred. Adrian is nothing but a thief. I will now, as the rightful owner of Celestial, license it to Blue Ocean. The infringement issue evaporates. As for point 3, cash flow. I glanced at Chase. Avery distributed a document to everyone. This is my personal $3 billion interest-free loan, available for immediate injection. Gasps swept the room. Looking at their stunned faces, I calmly declared. From today forward I officially assume the post of chairman and CEO of Blue Ocean. Any objections? None. My first act as boss, rename the company. Blue Ocean became Celestial again. Second, a complete blood transfusion. Every last Adrian loyalist was purged. The company felt brand new. Third, a press conference. For the first time I stepped from backstage into the spotlight. Before the flashing cameras I showed no fear. I laid out the company's status and its future roadmap. For the first time I told the full story of Celestial, how my father Theodore had been betrayed by the protege he trusted most, how his life's code was stolen, how he died of grief. I didn't weep. I simply stated facts, every word a hammer blow. When it ended, public opinion flipped overnight. I was no longer the vicious ex-wife but the avenging business heroine who had bided her time for her father's sake. When trading resumed, Celestial stock locked 3 consecutive limit-up days. Everything was back on track. That afternoon I received an unexpected call from the detention center. Adrian had used his single allowed call on me. Serena. His voice was hoarse, exhausted, stripped of its old swagger. I lost. Yes. I just can't figure out, when did you start planning it? I thought for a moment. 3 years ago. Silence stretched from his end. 3 years earlier I'd noticed he wired money to an offshore account every month. Suspicious, I had it traced. That led me straight to Luna, and to the fact that they'd been cheating under my nose for 2 years. I said nothing then, I didn't even feel pain, only a numb sense of course. Maybe from the moment my father died and Adrian took the Skyvault code to build his empire, I should have stopped trusting him, but for Audrey's sake I kept lying to myself. From that instant, I was awake. Quietly I shifted assets and amassed proof of his crimes. Every step I paved for him became a shovel of dirt over his grave. 3 years. Adrian gave a bitter laugh. Serena, you are a born businessman. No, a born executioner. You win. Just, please, spare Audrey. She's still a child, she's innocent. There it is again, same line Ellis used in the last story. When a man's cornered, he always hides behind the child. Adrian. I cut him off. The way she is today, I'm not the one who made her that way. You and Luna did. Your selfishness and greed destroyed her. You have no right to negotiate with me now. The call ended. I set the phone down and went back to the documents. The intercom on my desk buzzed. It was my secretary. Casey, there's a woman downstairs who says she's your mother. She'd like to see you. My hand froze. My birth mother, Eleanor, was here. She showed up carrying a thermos of chicken soup she'd simmered herself. Inside my office she stood awkwardly, taking in the room with a gaze full of strangeness and awe. Emery, this place is huge. I told her to sit. She perched cautiously on the sofa, only half of her on the cushion. She placed the thermos on the coffee table and slid it toward me. I stewed some soup for you. You must be exhausted lately, have some to build up your strength. I opened the thermos. The aroma rushed out. A scent I knew by heart, but I didn't lift the ladle. What's this about? I asked. The smile on Eleanor's face stiffened. She rubbed her hands, on the verge of speaking yet holding back. Emery, your sister. Luna, I saw it coming. She sent you? My birth mother waved her hands frantically. No, I came on my own. Little Luna, she just lost her head for a moment, got tricked by someone. She knows she was wrong, she cries every day in there. Could you speak to the police, get her out earlier? She's your flesh and blood little sister, after all. Little sister. The word sounded especially ironic coming from her lips. I studied her, studied the woman who had given me life and raised me. From childhood on, her eyes had held only Luna. Cameron knew how to pout and please. I was the quiet one, always buried in books. Good snacks, fun toys, those were Luna's. My clothes were always Luna's hand-me-downs. I'd told myself she simply played favorites, until I accidentally overheard her chatting with a neighbor. The younger one's so sweet. The elder's a block of wood, good for nothing later on. That moment, I understood. In her heart, I was disposable. Later, when I married Adrian and his career flourished, her attitude toward me finally warmed. Yet every visit was aimed at scoring something for Luna. Money, handbags, jobs. I thought giving them enough would buy peace. I was wrong. Their greed had no ceiling. Eleanor, I said, eyes locked on hers. Who fathered Luna's baby? Her face drained of color instantly. She hadn't expected me to know. Luna was pregnant. Discovered right before the arrest. She thought it would be her trump card. It's Adrian's. Eleanor's voice was mosquito small. Is that so? I smiled. Then tell her to get a paternity test. Let's see if the child is actually Adrian's. Her lips quivered, no words came. I stood and walked over. Go back and deliver this message to Luna. I won't help her. She committed a crime, she pays the price. And don't come looking for me again. The day she and Adrian betrayed me, I stopped having a sister. You stopped having a daughter as well. Eleanor slumped on the sofa, face ashen. I didn't look at her again, I pressed the intercom. See the visitor out. Adrian's trial opened. Because of the colossal sums involved and the tangled facts, it drew nationwide attention. As the key witness, I took the stand. Inside the courtroom, I saw Adrian and Luna again. Adrian had lost weight and looked haggard, but resentment still burned in his eyes. Luna, in an inmate's jumpsuit, her belly slightly rounded, stared at me, pleading. I kept my gaze forward and stepped into the witness box. I revealed how Adrian had stolen my father's tech, how he'd systematically edged me out, shifted assets, conspired with Luna to deceive me. Every detail aired in public. My testimony was calm, precise, supported by evidence. Adrian's lawyer tried to attack me. Witness, if you discovered all this 3 years ago, why stay silent? Were you scheming the whole time, waiting for today to throw him in prison and seize everything? I met his gaze and answered evenly. I wasn't scheming. I was merely retrieving what had always belonged to me. my father's reputation, and my dignity. A hush fell over the courtroom. From the defendant's chair, Adrian glared as though he wanted to swallow me alive. The proceedings lasted 3 days. At last, the verdict. Adrian, multiple offenses combined, sentenced to life without parole, political rights stripped for good. Luna, convicted as an accessory, 10 years in prison. The instant the gavel struck, Adrian erupted. Serena, you'll rot in hell, I'll haunt you even as a ghost. Luna collapsed to the floor, wailing. Sis, I was wrong. Save me. I don't want jail. Bailiffs dragged them out. The courtroom fell silent. I walked out of the courthouse. Sunlight scorched my eyes. Everything was over. Chase stood beside me. Congratulations, ma'am. I gave a small smile. Congratulations to us both. A car pulled up. The window slid down, revealing a face I didn't want to see. Audrey. She was thinner, complexion pale, eyes hollow. I need to talk, she said. I didn't move. There's nothing left to say between us, please. A trace of appeal crept into her voice. Just a few minutes. After a moment, I nodded. Chase, head back first. I got into her car. The faint odor of cigarettes lingered inside. She had picked up smoking. What do you want to say? I asked. She reached into the passenger seat, pulled out a manila folder, and handed it to me. Dad asked me to give you this. I took it and opened it. Inside was a stock transfer agreement. Adrian had signed over the last 5% of his shares, everything he still owned, to me, no conditions. There was also a letter. It held only one line. Take care of her. The her could only mean Audrey. I tossed the letter and the agreement back at her. I don't want it. Audrey looked at me, eyes reddening. Mom, she finally called me Mom again. I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Can we go back to how it used to be? Go back? I stared at her. Audrey, do you know what a broken mirror looks like? She froze. No matter how you fit the pieces, the cracks stay. There's no going back for us. Audrey cried, hard. What am I supposed to do now? I have nothing left. No dad, no mom. I studied her, the daughter I had carried for 9 months, the treasure I once cradled in my palms. Now she felt like a stranger. You're an adult, I said. Your life is your own responsibility. Your father set up a trust for you, enough to keep you comfortable for the rest of your days. As long as you stay out of trouble. It was the final safety net Adrian had woven before the fallout, and I had let it stand. However much I hated him, I wouldn't cut off my own child's lifeline. So that's it? She asked through her tears. From now on, we're strangers? Yes. I didn't hesitate. The moment you chose their side, we became exactly that. I opened the door and stepped out. I never looked back. Some wounds, once made, can never be healed. All I could give her was a final scrap of dignity. The rest of her road, good or bad, she'd walk without me. Celestial's growth outstripped every forecast. I led the team in building the next-generation intelligence platform. We secured the country's largest smart city contracts. Market value multiplied tenfold. The press crowned me the true queen of business. Work left no space to dwell on the past. Then one day Chase told me, Luna had miscarried in prison. A fight with another inmate, they said, she couldn't hold the pregnancy. The baby was gone, and with it her only chance at a reduced sentence. She lost her mind completely, raving day and night that it was my curse, that I'd murdered her child. The news stirred nothing in me. What goes around comes around. A year later my birth mother, Eleanor, died. Cancer, stage 4, too late when they found it. She asked to see me before the end. I stayed away. I simply had Chase arrange the funeral in my name, had her buried in a decent plot. Call it the last ounce of filial duty. I stood before my father's grave. In the photo on the stone he smiled gently. Dad, I did it. Celestial is back. Everyone who hurt you has paid. Rest now. A breeze stirred, lifting a few dry leaves. I almost heard his sigh. I didn't attend Eleanor's funeral. Audrey went, I was told. She saw her grandmother off alone, quietly. After that, silence. She vanished from my world entirely. Maybe that was best. Two strangers drifting apart, forgetting each other in the vast river of life. 5 years later Celestial stood among the planet's elite tech giants. I received an invitation to the Davos World Economic Forum. In that Swiss alpine town I spotted a familiar silhouette. Audrey, clad in ski gear, goggles pushed up, she was teaching a small blonde boy to slide down the beginner's slope. Sunlight blazed across the snow. Her smile, open, uncomplicated, was one I had never seen. She noticed me. Across the crowds we locked eyes. Her grin slowly faded, replaced by surprise, something conflicted, but no hatred. The boy tugged her hand, sensing the pause. She came back to herself, gave me a small nod. I nodded back. Then we turned and walked opposite ways. Not a word spoken, and yet it carried more than 1,000 could have said. So time really can smooth everything. I thought my heart was granite by then. Yet that night, alone on the hotel balcony under a sky of cold stars, I let a single tear fall. For the family that was, for the past that can't be, I no longer knew which. When the forum ended I flew home. Life resumed its frantic pace. I founded a charity in my father's name, funding brilliant young scientists who might otherwise be buried alive. I won't allow another Theodore tragedy. Chase stayed at my side, evolving from counsel to COO, the partner I trusted most. Many assumed we'd end up together. Perhaps he thought so too. One evening after a celebration he confessed. I turned him down. Chase, you're extraordinary, but my heart died years ago. There's room for no one else. He looked at me, resigned, almost relieved. I understand. He smiled. It's enough to stay beside you. My life seemed set. Limitless wealth, unchallenged power, and loneliness to the grave. I believed I would walk that road to its end, until a letter arrived from Switzerland. Audrey had sent it. Inside was a single photograph. Her wedding day with a foreign man. She glowed. On the back she had written, "Mom, may we each be well, in our own lives." I studied that picture for a long, long while. Then I laughed. A laugh that came from somewhere real. I picked up my phone and called Chase. "Are you free tonight? Come see a movie with me." Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you liked this video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable stories. See you next time.